Today we're going to be making bone broth, and it is so good. Not just delicious, bone broth that is made with good and healthy bones is filled with minerals and nutrients, especially collagen. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with others. I'm also going to be leaving some useful links in the description below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start making bone broth. I like to use an electric pressure cooker to make my bone broth. You can leave the pot inside, but I personally like to remove it. I have about 4 pounds of frozen bones that I got from my local supermarket. If you know a local farmer where you can purchase your bones, is even better. And a turkey neck that I have left over from Thanksgiving. And I have kept all those bones in the freezer. Here I have a large onion that I'm going to chop in large pieces. I'll be using the entire onion, including the skin. Onion skins are also loaded with good vitamins. I'll also add some celery sticks. If you notice, I'm not going to add too many vegetables. I don't want my bone broth to be too strong on the vegetable side or to have too much of an overpowering taste. In my house, we not only drink the bone broth, but we use it in other recipes. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of salt. And I'll be adding roughly 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. This is to help extract the minerals and especially the collagen from the bones. And now I'm going to add water up to the max line of my pot. Please ensure that you don't go over that line. There is a reason why the manufacturer has put that in there, especially because during the boiling process, you don't want to clog the vent of the pressure cooker. And I just found 1 more frozen turkey neck that I had saved from Thanksgiving, which is going to make the liquid go a little bit too much above the max line. I'm going to remove just about half a cup to 1 cup. And now it's time to transfer the pot into the inside of my electric pressure cooker. If you're using any other model, just make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions. But you can also leave the pot inside as you add the ingredients. It's just my personal preference to remove it and then put it back inside. And as I explained before, I like to use roughly onions and celery and salt and apple cider vinegar. Some people like to add ginger or carrots. I personally do not like the taste of the carrots when they pressure cook with the bone broth, and I don't like to add garlic either at this stage. Maybe later if I'm using it for a different recipe. But if you're feeling under the weather, feel free to add some chunks of ginger with skin on and everything. It is a very nice treat to drink, especially when you don't feel good. On my particular model, the lid has 3 little settings for the vent. One of them is for cleaning, the other one is to release the steam, and the last one is for pressure. Again, please follow your manufacturer's instructions and ensure that the vent is set up on the pressure setting before you press the start button to start cooking with your pressure cooker. And if you're interested in this particular model, I'm going to leave the link in the description below. But any other electric pressure cooker, I'm sure will do just fine. Now I'm going to align the lid to the unlock position first, just to make sure that my lid is level. I like to press it down to squeeze some of the air and then put it on the lock position. I'll be setting the pressure on high, and then I'm going to set my timer for 4 hours. And again, ensure that the control valve is set to be on the pressure setting. And of course, just ensure that the lid is nice and tight and closed. The pressure cooker is not going to start counting the time until it has fully built pressure inside and the liquid is basically boiling. If you're using frozen bones like me, it can take a good 30 and up to 45 minutes for the pressure cooker to be fully pressurized. Then the timer will start automatically counting down the minutes. After 4 hours, I'm not going to release the steam. I will let the pot depressurize on its own. Once there is no more pressure and all the steam has been released, I'm going to open my pot and take a look inside. I have prepared a separate pot with a strainer. I'll be removing the bones and put them in a separate plate. And as you can see, there is meat left in many of the bones, and we're going to be separating the meat very soon. I like to use it for other dishes and even for our dog or our chickens, but we will not be throwing that away. And the leftover onion pieces and celery, you can add them to your compost pile to use it in your garden. And as you can see, that bone has released all of that collagen that was inside. The next step, you can do it in stages or just grab the entire pot and pour the liquid through the strainer. Just ensure that the pot is cool to the touch. We're going to strain it for the first time today, and then tomorrow we're going to do it a last time, and I'll show you how to get your bone broth nice and clear. At this time, I'm going to try to remove all the pieces of meat that sometimes are attached to the bones. And here is a turkey neck. It has a lot of meat and I'm not throwing that away. Now at this stage, it all depends on preference. I like to transfer my bone broth first to some mason jars. I'll be placing the mason jars in the refrigerator and I'm going to let the fat float on top overnight and then remove it the next day before I strain it a last time. The fat will solidify in the refrigerator and it will be easier to remove. Just ensure that the broth is not too hot. I like to use a big measuring cup to make it faster and easier. Try not to close the lid too tight, just finger tight. When you put it in the refrigerator, the change in temperature from warm to cold can create some suction on the lid, making it a little hard to open. I'll be cleaning the outside of the jar with a wet cloth and then put it in the fridge. And the next morning, the fat is floating to the top. It's easier to remove now. I like to use a knife to cut through it. For the next step, you can use a cheesecloth or a strainer of a finer mesh. You can also leave it the way it is if you like your bone broth to have some little bit pieces and you don't mind. This is much finer than the strainer that I used the day before, and it's gonna trap everything that's left in the bone broth. And I'm also going to give those mason jars a quick rinse to make them nice and clear. And now I'm going to transfer my final product to the mason jar, or you can use any jar or any container that you have at hand. I'll also be freezing some of the bone broth. This is to use this week for drinking and for other recipes, and the rest I'll transfer it to freezer bags. That way I have bone broth available in the freezer in case I need it for other recipes. I like to use a measuring cup. That way I know how much bone broth I'm adding to each bag. And then I'll use a marker to label them on the outside. Try to hold the bag tightly with one hand. You don't want to spill the broth, or you can place the little baggie inside a cup or a plate. That way it's nice and secure as you pour the liquid. And finally, just remove as much air as possible before sealing it. And this is our delicious bone broth. I'm going to be placing this mason jar in the refrigerator, and we'll be using some of it for drinking and some of it for cooking. It's been a few days since I made my bone broth. I just took it out of the fridge, and now I'm going to heat it up to enjoy it as a drink. I like to add just a little pinch of salt. And for more delicious and enhanced flavor, I like to add a few drops of lemon juice, especially if I feel that I'm catching a cold or sneezing. It's just delicious. You don't have to add the lemon juice at all. It's just my personal preference. And there you have it. I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you have the chance of making this delicious bone broth. Thank you very much for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe and share with others. I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful and very blessed day.